Hi everyone, and welcome to the Mental Training Room. This is your host, Haley Herdman. I'm a former Division I basketball player and current mental health therapist.
And I am Naomi Yim, also a former Division I basketball player and a current real estate investor with a passion for athlete mental health.
Throughout our time as collegiate athletes, Naomi and I struggled with our emotional well-being, and we know from this experience how neglected the mental aspect of sports can be, which is why we created this podcast, to foster a safe space for other athletes to open up about their own experiences.
Whether you are an athlete, coach, parent, or anyone with an athlete in their circle, we hope you can gain some insight from our episodes that can help you along your journey. And the most important thing we hope you can take from our podcast is that you are never alone in your struggles.
Now, let's get into it. Welcome to the Mental Training Room.
Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Mental Training Room. Today, we're going to be talking about summer going into your freshman year as a college athlete. And so we want to start off with asking Haley, what are 3 words to describe how you felt going into your freshman year?
Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm actually so glad that we're recording this today because I just dropped off my little brother at the camp at our old school. And so I saw the girls practicing and I was like, oh wow, it's just really setting the stage. So I feel like I was like bringing myself, and one of the moms was like, oh, are you working the camp? I'm like, no. Like are far gone from that. And I was just remembering like when we literally, it wasn't more so freshman year, but like when we had to do our workouts before coaching the camp, like just wild. That's wild.
We were at camp for like over 6 hours.
Literally like, 8 hours. And then it was an 8-hour day basically, but with 2 hours of those being like intense workouts.
Yeah.
But all of that to say, like, it just really put me back there. So I felt these words so true. So summer going into freshman year, just graduated high school, like top dog, you think you're going to come in. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I ever really thought I was going to come in like, oh, I'm going to be the best or anything like that. But you have this sort of like confidence leaving high school, and then you get to summer. And again, like you said, it's not every sport. Like I'm pretty sure it's basketball, girls volleyball, or girls volleyball if you have that on campus, and then soccer. Yeah. So the 3 words that I would say to describe how I felt that summer were so negative. Like, but these are the first 3 words that came to mind. Disgusting, insecure, and restricted. Like, I don't know a better I don't know another way to describe it other than like you just feel like you're obviously yourself, like you're showing up to things, but I did not feel like I was like able
to. So scared. Like we weren't ourselves at all until sophomore year, for sure. Yeah.
And like even barely then, like for me at least.
Right.
But it's just such a huge transition. Yeah. And especially for a lot of people, I mean, for me, I don't even know how I would feel if I was away from home, because I still lived at home in the summer because school was so close, and I still felt like that. And I can't even imagine how, and like for you, you were close a little bit too. You could still go home. But imagine if we could go home
every weekend.
Or like if we couldn't go to my house in between workout, open gym.
I think I would have cried literally every day.
Which we already did.
Even though I already did, I would have cried even more. Yeah.
What are the 3 words that you
would so when I thought about it, like going into it without, being there already and experiencing it, I would say I was timid for once.
Timid, yes.
Was timid for once in my life because I just didn't know what to expect, how I would fit in, because I think the girls told me when I came in my freshman year, they were like, we didn't know what to expect from you because when you came on your visit, you were so mean. You were like just to yourself. You didn't talk and I think I was like that, but a lot of people are like, you look so mean, but you're not at all. So I think for the first time I was like timid, which in high school, no one would explain me that way. I think I was very confident, too much to a point where I was expecting things. And so I think it was timid. Yeah, I would say confident. And then I would say just like, I don't know, like the feel, it's more of a feeling but I just felt very like, "I'm gonna be okay." Like,
Mm,
I thought in my head, like, "I'm gonna be okay, like, it's not gonna rock my world." That's pretty
mm,
much how I felt. Yeah.
and then did it?
Not at all. All things besides timid were turned into a circle.
Things were not okay. I mean, we ended up okay, but it
Yeah,
definitely rocked our
yeah,
world.
yeah,
But it is just such a vulnerable time for so many athletes, which is why, and I
yeah,
guess that's kind of a good word to describe
yeah,
our mutual
exactly.
experience.
Yeah.
But which is why we wanted to record this episode and be able to share our advice
Mhm.
for people coming in, because the coaches will obviously, they're going to hype you up. Like they're going to be telling you all these things, make you feel super welcomed. The players are, it's just another summer for them, for the returners. And I feel like there is like a huge lack of empathy for the athletes coming in. And even though we've all been there,
Mhm.
but no one really provides that kind of roadmap
Yeah.
for, I mean, maybe they do, and maybe we just didn't experience that, but I feel like it's not
I
really
was just about
there.
to say that, like, on the incoming side of things for freshmen, it's like everyone has experienced that, but now tell me if you feel the same, like, looking back as seniors and things like that, like, you're still in your own world in a sense, just trying to figure it out, which I have empathy for the seniors we came in with, but I really do wish and hope that all coaches emphasize to upperclassmen to really cultivate, like, an embracing, you know,
Culture.
culture for these freshmen because they're, like, so vulnerable and they're walking into a space that you know no one, everyone is looking at you, like, that's the vision that I feel that I,
Yeah.
like, about when I think of freshman year. No.
The feeling that's coming to mind for me of like how we can compare how it felt is like the dreams where you have, where you like show up to a public, mine was always school. I would always show up to school naked. And like actually though, in the dream, it's like people aren't looking at you, but you feel like people are
Like,
looking
are
at you.
staring at
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And so that's what that feeling is like. Like you're doing the workouts and like everyone is really in their own world, but you think that they're all watching
Looking
you,
at you. Right.
picking, like looking at little
Yeah.
things, dissecting every movement, but that's not necessarily true. So, again, this is why we kind of wanted to record this episode and share our advice to incoming collegiate athletes, even transfers ish, but they kind of
Yeah.
already know what it's like. It's just a new environment.
I would say just that freshman year or, like, that summer time where you're so vulnerable.
Elite athletes know performance isn't just about what you do in the game, it's about how you prepare and how you recover. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Defend USA. If you want to stay in peak shape, you can't afford to ignore the power of recovery. That's where Defend USA comes in. Trusted by pros in the NBA, WNBA, MLB, and beyond, Defend USA's compression gear is designed to help you train harder, recover faster, and perform at your best. Their military-grade compression technology reduces muscle fatigue and helps prevent injury, so you can push limits without breaking down. That's why the best athletes don't just train hard, they recover smarter. Level up your recovery, level up your game. Check out Defend USA at dfndusa.com and at dfndusa on Instagram, and get the gear trusted by the pros. Okay, so my first piece of advice, and this is something that I learned in grad school, specifically was like geared towards therapists and how therapists can kind of make mistakes sometimes, and you like accept the humility. Like you're just like, okay, it's fine. Like we're in a learning process and sometimes you can get things wrong. So like accepting that humility.
Mhm.
And when my professors started talking about that, that clicked for me instantly for athletes of
Really?
like accepting, because maybe I know obviously a lot of athletes tend to have like perfectionist tendencies.
Yeah.
And if you're expecting to go into your freshman year summer doing everything right, doing everything perfect, it's going to almost just immediately set you up for failure and mental failure,
Mhm.
because you're not going to get things right. Like you're going to miss a laundry day. You're
Mhm.
going to maybe wear the wrong gear. You'll probably most definitely mess up a drill.
Yeah.
Conditioning is going to be hard. So being able to not envision messing up, but telling yourself that it's okay to mess up and
Right.
accepting that humility of like, okay, I'm coming in and I don't know everything, and that's okay. I was having a conversation with an athlete that I work with about this the other day, and I told her, I was like, I really want you to make sure that you're not hearing me say, be okay with failure, be okay with making mistakes, but just knowing
Right.
that it's going to
Yeah.
happen
Yeah.
and that you'll be able to bounce back from it.
It's
Mm,
really not that deep.
yeah,
It's so beyond what you're even feeling and thinking. It's not even that serious half
yeah,
the time. Yeah.
yeah. And that kind of goes along with it too of like,
Yeah.
okay, yes, maybe you had a turnover or like a missed layup in a drill where it's like it feels like the world like that
It is
feeling
so
makes me just want to like scream. But if we were to have been like, okay, it's fine, like just think about the next one.
exactly.
Imagine the mindset shift that would
Yeah.
have happened. 'Cause I know for me at least it was I was always dwelling on the mistakes that I made.
All day long. I would think about it in class, I would think about it, I would talk about it all the time, like, that's all we talked about. I would call my parents and talk about the negative, so
Yeah,
it's like my life consumed of all the mistakes that I felt like I was making.
yeah.
Yeah.
When it's like that's normal.
Yes.
Like it's normal to make mistakes. Even the returners are gonna make mistakes.
They do.
And the coaches and everyone else might feel like it's not okay,
Right.
but it's knowing to yourself that it's like, okay, there's, there's gonna be another layup. There's gonna be another drill. There's always another play. And it kind of goes back to that game mentality too of like the next play mentality.
Right.
But
100%.
yeah, so that would be my so first piece of advice, accept humility. My second one was more on like the social side of things, of like teammates. And again, there might be volleyball, there might be soccer. If you're at a bigger school, maybe there's other athletes just staying there to train. But as a freshman, I feel like I was waiting for people to initiate hangouts.
Mm,
And if I could go back and do something differently, and this is my advice to people coming in, is you be the one to initiate things.
even in your team or anyone?
I
Oh,
would say anywhere.
okay.
'Cause, like, I mean, us 2, we were inseparable and we closed
Yeah.
ourselves I
Yeah.
mean, what? We had, like, 2 volleyball friends from class, but even then, it's like, okay, don't close yourself off to making new friends. Summer is the best time to do it too because
It's
there's
just
only
yeah.
there's only a few people on campus, and practices are so early, and
Right.
then you have the rest of the day to explore. So, yeah, so my second piece of advice is initiate hangouts, initiate new friendships. Sometimes, and again, having the empathy for the returners of like, okay, sometimes the freshmen are like annoying of like, can you take me here? Can you do this? But not asking them for things, but like initiating, like, oh, do we want to go to the grocery store or does anyone want to go to the beach?
Yeah, I
Like
agree.
different things like that so that you can start to create those connections and foster new friendships in the team and not just have it be on the court or on the field, whatever it might be. Because it just, I don't know, it will make the summer go by,
Much easier.
yeah, and much more fun too. Like you don't want to just work out, go back to your room, take a nap, watch TV, whatever. Like,
That's literally what I do.
yeah. That's what, I mean, take your naps. You need the naps because again, the practices are
Exactly.
so yeah, to incoming freshmen, like initiate that form of social connection for yourself. Put yourself out there and it'll just you'll see that it creates a good social and sport life balance.
Balance, yeah.
My last one was I don't know. Okay, my I went to school. It went to the school part. So I have like a school, sport, and social.
That's good.
One time someone told me before I was coming into school, it was like, there's 3 S's in college and you can only get 2 of them, school, sport, social. And now I look back and I'm like,
Wow.
yeah, that's so like school and sport, basically.
Oh, we did.
My other piece of advice was more so the school part because we had to take our summer class,
Yeah.
which was so stressful. Like, still remember like the selfie we took walking into our first day of class.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, we're about to do a college class. The first time probably ever feeling
I think we even got, like, somewhat dressed to
did
our
we?
class. I feel like we wore, like, something non-sporty.
Right.
Like
Probably. I would hope we did.
yeah.
For our first day of college? Like, what?
Oh my god.
But my thing with that was like was looking at the syllabus because they didn't teach us how to read a syllabus. And I remember showing up one day and we had a quiz, and I was like,
What?
no one told us we had a quiz. And the professor, which bless his heart, I love him still to this day, it was KJ, I think.
Yeah.
He was so great.
Nice.
So nice.
Yeah,
But and so understanding, which was amazing, but, like, we knew that we had a quiz for 3 weeks, and other people knew it in the class, I just didn't. I don't know
yeah.
if you did, but
No,
either asking your professor to, like, teach you how to read a syllabus or looking I guess everyone could just look things up on
right.
chat now.
Yeah. No, actually.
So, just making sure you know how to read the syllabus if you're taking that
Plan correct.
summer class going in, because everything's there, like, you know what you have in 6 weeks, you know what to do in 6 weeks. The
Yeah,
reading that it says under the date is the reading that's due that day,
that day.
and no one's gonna tell you your homework, no
Yeah.
one's gonna tell you when you have a quiz, when you have a test, when an essay's due, like,
Mhm.
it's all up to you to read that syllabus, organize it how you want and how it makes sense for you. So, yeah, 3rd piece of advice, learn how to read a syllabus.
That's actually really good because thinking about freshman year, I felt like I made it so much more difficult than I needed to make it. Like I
Yeah,
was so overwhelmed by having these like 3 to 4 classes. And after that year, I don't know what happened. It just like was smooth for me. But
yeah,
the first year, I just look back like it was so overwhelming for me. Like I felt like I had like 6 essays in the
yeah.
last week of school because I didn't even like plan ahead for it or anything, and it was so, so overwhelming for me.
Because we come in used to, like literally compared to college, it's like high school's like hand-holding.
Yeah, and you have home every day, like, teachers tell you they don't tell you in college, they
No.
just
They
plan
put
it,
it on that damn syllabus and
"Okay,
hand
you
it
have
to
an
you.
essay this week." I'm like, "What?"
Exactly,
Yeah, and
exactly.
it's like a 8-page paper.
Yeah.
God.
Ugh. Alright, well, those are my 3 pieces of advice. Accept humility, initiate social connections or hangouts, and learn how to read a syllabus.
Yeah, that's a great balance that you should have.
Yeah, yeah.
This episode is sponsored by PhysioWorks Physical Therapy. Sports aren't just about skill, it's about strength. And I'm not just talking about physical strength. Athletes train their bodies, push their limits, and build muscle to perform at their best. But what happens when injury strikes, or when movement just doesn't feel right? That's where PhysioWorks Physical Therapy comes in. PhysioWorks isn't just about recovery, it's about unlocking your full potential. Their expert team helps you rebuild strength, improve mobility, and prevent future injuries so you can get back to doing what you love. Because strong muscles create strong athletes. At PhysioWorks Physical Therapy in Redondo Beach, California, they understand that true performance is both physical and mental. So whether you're rehabbing an injury or leveling up your game, don't just push through the pain. Work with the best. Because a strong body fuels a strong mind. And when both are in sync, that's when you truly win.
Okay, mine were more about the basketball or, like, the sports side of things, and I would say my main 3 pieces are your response to adversity. So, like, I feel like I guess that goes with, like, my last one, which is your mindset and your energy, but I think my 3 tips, like, the umbrella of it is, like, the things that you can control.
Mm,
So, mine were the response to adversity. It was obviously work ethic, but what I paired with the work ethic is have work ethic with no expectation.
mm,
'Cause I felt like maybe I did this in high school without even knowing, but because I worked so hard, I expected things, and whether it was from my coaches, I expected to play. I expected myself to shoot this many shots or whatever that the case was, and it's completely different, especially coming into freshman year. I think it may be different as a transfer because, you've already been in the game, but as a freshman, have work ethic with no expectation. Don't
mm.
expect just because you do extra work that the coach is gonna let you play more or gonna put you on the starting team or you work harder than everybody else. Oh, okay, well, I deserve to have this or play this many times or, whatever that looks like for you. And my last one was mindset and your energy. I
Mm.
feel like we did good with the energy, maybe not the mindset. That was my last one.
No, that's such a good point about the work ethic because then that kinda goes back to the mental skill of motivation.
Yes.
And we have the extrinsic versus the intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic is what you're saying of like, I'm doing this to get something, or
Right.
like the
Yes,
extrinsic, which is hard because so much of playing your sport in high school, if you want to play at the next level, is extrinsic because you're doing it to get to the next level, to
exactly.
get that scholarship, to get that spot on the team. But once you're there, it low key needs to
Mhm.
switch from extrinsic to intrinsic because
Wow.
Intrinsic is when it's coming from within. So it's like, okay, I'm doing these reps to get better for myself,
Exactly.
to make my team better, not to, like you said, get that validation from someone or expect playing time because you're
Right.
getting in the gym X amount of times.
And I think that's kind of what I guide my younger brother with is like because he plays on a very high level travel ball team. And so there's a lot of amazing players from the first player on the roster to the last player. So the playing time, it's going to vary every game. Every game is going to be different. And so I always tell him to take yourself out of it
Sure.
and just focus on the things that you can control, which is your energy, your work ethic, playing defense. Like those are the things you can control. Everything else, like regarding the outcome, should not be in your mind. Focus on what the team needs, which is to just swing it. Like that's
Yeah.
outside of you. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love the emphasis on the what you can control because that is also going into that feeling of vulnerability that you have coming into this summer or your first year.
Yeah.
So much of it feels out of control. And even like literally, and again, one of the sessions I was having a week ago, we were kind of talking about this. And I even told this athlete, I was like, you're going to get so many new things like new gear, new shoes, all of
Right.
this new stuff that will make you feel probably even more out of place because it's like, oh, these are socks I've never worn before. These are shoes I've never worn before. And in high school, you can buy your own shoes. You can wear whatever you want to wear to practice. And even that little thing is like, feels like it's out of your control.
I
Yeah.
hated that we had to match. I hated that we had to all wear the same shoes. We have to have the same color jerseys. Like, I had the hardest time with that. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Because it's a loss of individuality and also it takes away your autonomy.
Yeah,
So for you, for someone who was like super
you
like
can.
adamant about who you were, yeah, and wanting to be in control, it's also a form of control. Like it's
Yeah,
a loss of control if you can't decide what you're wearing.
yeah.
Um,
I'm
so
such a hard with that.
yeah, what I shared with this athlete was I remember whenever I would wear, because we were, wait, were we ever? No, we were always Adidas.
Yeah.
We were always Adidas. We always got like new Adidas stuff. I would always wear like whenever I put on my Lululemon like sports
Mhm.
bra, I always felt like myself. I don't know why. It was the weirdest thing, but
Rude. That
it
is
goes yeah. And like same with you and your Nike stuff. Like I remember you would always wear your Nike.
in trouble
Yeah.
all the time, but I'm
Yeah.
like, stop telling me what I can wear.
Yeah. So it's like having it's kind of like that like emotional or like security blanket type of thing. I told
Yeah.
her, I was like, if you have like a favorite sports bra or like favorite spandex or something, like bring that, wear that. Something to make you remember and remind yourself that it's like, okay, it's still me. It's still myself, just in a different environment. And again, those are the things that you can control. And it goes back to what you said too of like the energy and the mindset of it all, which is just overall the two most important things that you can control and that you should always be aware of. And it kind of I feel like I contradict myself sometimes because it's like, okay, no one is responsible for how they make you feel. But
Mm,
obviously, if there is like that toxic environment and if there is abusive coaching or
right.
whatever it might be, that's a different
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah.
But, you can control your energy when you walk in. You can control your mindset when you walk in.
Mhm.
What would be your advice to, because I feel like I annoyed people sometimes. Not sometimes. I know specifically I'm thinking of one teammate who's like one of my best friends now, so it's fine. But like when I would show up with like my Celsius and a lot of energy, like in morning weights,
You're like, oh
and
my,
everyone's just like dreading it. What
yeah.
would be your advice if freshmen are the ones that are trying to bring the energy and they're not getting it reciprocated?
I
Or
would say,
if you could have done something differently, because I feel like we allowed the environment to control us.
yeah, because we were mute.
Yeah, yeah,
We if everybody else was sad, we were sad, and we were just, like, whispering to each other, like,
yeah. What's happening?
we're like, "Everybody's upset with it. We need to
Yeah,
be quiet."
it's
So,
our fault or something.
yeah, exactly. I would say, like, as hard as it is, just continue to be yourself. I not to say, like, it's inevitable that you'll talk to, like, your close friend on the team about the energy, but, like, figuring out solutions rather than just
Mm,
gossiping, because I think that's something that we could have maybe done better is, like, not gossiped about it, but figure out, like, okay, like, how could we do this differently instead of just going into our shell and just like adding into the negative energy because we were just talking about the negative energy. And so like I think we did well with between ourselves because we would just go get extra work. We would, figure out how to just enjoy ourselves somewhat
Yeah.
or make ourselves feel comfortable. But I think if we maybe just like brainstormed on how we can bring up the energy within the team, whether you're a freshman, more senior, whatever that looks like, just having that solution oriented mindset, I would be my
I
advice.
love that because it is so true. It's like, yes, the gossiping feels good and it helps to like vent, but what is it doing? It's just
Yeah,
playing into
it's
that
everyone to
your
start
mindset,
right.
and it
Exactly. Yeah.
plays into creating more so a negative mindset rather than like, okay, I'm gonna get it out, I'm gonna vent, but then what can we do about it?
What can I do?
And I remember one of our teammates said one time to me, maybe it was both of us, but like that freshman spirit, that freshman
Oh,
energy. Like, I would.
yes.
You remember that? Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. I
I
think
wish
that
I still had that. And we literally said to ourselves, that's never gonna happen to us. Like,
no.
it's never gonna
Oh
die.
my God. It went in a casket.
Yeah. It was very deep under the
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah.
But knowing that that is, it is true to a sense. Obviously, you have control over it, but
Right.
knowing that that is probably where your teammates are at too. Like, okay, it could be their fourth summer, could be their third summer. Like, it's tiring. It's really
Yeah.
tiring.
I
So, no,
I would say though, like that's our experience,
yeah,
but
that's true.
maybe at other programs, like high winning culture programs, it's probably not like that,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
And
So
it's true. Like even when we did get older through our summers, I feel like we still had that energy because we were always maybe it was the energy from being scared of like what's gonna happen if but yeah. So I mean knowing that burnout can happen and
yeah,
probably will, but again, it goes back to the mindset and the energy that you're bringing.
that-
Okay, so going off of everything that we just talked about, our own experiences, what is something that you feel like no one really told you about college athletics or like entering collegiate sport your first year that you think would have been helpful to know?
I would say like the culture and how important that is. And I even say that now because being in business, culture within your company is so important because if everyone is not on the same page, everyone is not bought into your vision, it's not going to work. And those people will fall off and, they'll get fired in a sense. But in a college environment, you're with each other 25/8. And so if everyone is not bought into the culture and understanding what the vision is for this team, whether last year was a losing season or winning season, whatever that looks like, every year is such a different year. And so from the top down, I would say, especially from the top, like the coaching staff, what is their culture? What are their morals? And then knowing that your team also understands that deeply and feels it deeply is one thing I would wish I would have known before going to college because I think I would have chosen a little bit differently. But yeah.
But it is such a great point because then you can see like almost asking like what are the non-negotiables in a way because
Yeah.
then you can feel mentally prepared for that and kind of expect
Right.
that going in rather than being just literally thrown into this mess that you have no idea about. And yeah, again, I like how you keep saying too maybe this was just our experience and maybe
Exactly.
it's different at other programs, but and I know like the coach there right now is doing a great job, is very clear about her standards and the values and everything that goes into the program. But yeah, that wasn't very clear to us.
Right.
It is helpful to know because then you can see if you fit there or
Mhm.
you think that you can fit there and then you're there for the summer or whatever it is and it's like, oh, maybe this isn't for me. But yeah, knowing about the culture and the non-negotiables of the program that you're going into
Yeah.
is definitely a great
Yeah.
piece of advice or something to be aware of and that more athletes should be taking into consideration when committing or even when it's like okay things are getting tough, let me go back to the non-negotiables. If I know that about my program I can
Yeah.
go back to that because then it's the things that you can control.
Exactly. The way that I would envision it is like two scenarios I view in my head is if someone were to have come to our games, they would see us two at the end of the bench just screaming our heads off,
Yeah.
what is the rest of the people doing?
Yeah.
You know, like, what is that environment look like? Do you wanna be a part of that?
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Or if you look at Gino's team, South Carolina, like, now that the transfer portal is such a big thing, how many people are really transferring out of their programs? Like, not really many, you know? So, that's what I would view it as.
Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah. What was yours? What's one thing you would
I would say, honestly, like, I don't know why. Some I don't know why I didn't think it was gonna be that hard,
mentally or just
both
in
mentally and
yeah,
physically.
I would say
Maybe, like, so
yeah.
demanding.
Yeah. Like, literally a full-time job,
Yeah. I
but
don't think I was made aware of that.
yeah.
And I don't know why or how, like, I
Like,
don't
where
weird to
where
me.
where we went wrong?
Yeah, no, exactly. And
I
I don't know
totally agree.
what that would've, like, been like if I did think that, 'cause I
Mhm.
wouldn't have wanted to psych myself out of like, "Oh, no way, I can't do that." But maybe
Yes.
just a little bit more like, 'cause it is that senior year is like feels like it's all glitz and glam. Like, I'm gonna be D1, like, I know I'm going to school, whatever. I also didn't know we were gonna have a summer
Yeah.
like thing until, a few months before we were graduating. So I guess just knowing that like shit is gonna be hard, but
Would we wanted to have known?
I don't know. I have no idea, honestly. But it's out
Also
there now. Everyone knows, whoever's listening to this knows that it's gonna be hard. So
and I feel like too, it's like you don't really understand it until you go through it. Like
yeah,
I could explain it to my mom all I want, and
yeah,
she'll honestly she'll say like I didn't know that it was that hard, but I try to tell her, especially with Jaden, it's like he's gonna go through it. Like there's no athlete that I can talk to, and then they're like, "Yep, it was a breeze. Like
yeah,
it felt like high school. It was great." I
no.
never met not one athlete that would say that. So
And then it goes back to, the work that we're doing. And it's like, that's
crazy.
why it's so important to have mental training, to have a therapist, to have a sports psychologist, to have someone that you can just completely open up to know
Right.
that they understand what you're going through. Even if it's not a professional mental health, which obviously that would be my biggest piece of advice, scratch everything else I said, get yourself some mental health care. But even if it's just knowing, like talking to your parents, making sure you're talking to them every day, being open to them, just having that form of emotional support is what's going to be able to get you through when things seem too hard.
And I feel like for parents to understand for their kids going into this experience, just because your kid is going to college does not mean they don't need you anymore. Giving them the guidance to understand how important mental health is because a lot of people just lose themselves within this period of not having that parental figure in their life. And they start to think that they know everything and this, that, but it's like the most important time that they need you there
Yeah.
and having a mental health someone, an advocate, whatever that looks like for you, to just give you the tools, not just to like express yourself, but also the tools to navigate. Cause a lot of the things we experienced was so inevitable. I think
Yeah.
everybody probably felt some type of way like this. And so it's sadly inevitable. And so having the
Yeah.
tools and understanding how to navigate this is like so important.
That is, if you take anything from this episode, that's it right there.
Really. Yeah.
Okay, we were talking about a lot of negatives and challenges, but what I mean, it's
We gave
obviously like
we gave
there
solution.
yeah, there is it's summer, like, I don't even think kids have to take that many summer school classes anymore during the summer.
Yeah,
Being able to enjoy yourself, and I wanna kind of end it
right.
on this positive note, but what is a positive or a specific memory or something that you just remember, like, really loving about that first summer going into college?
I would say just being able to go to your house
Mm,
and just being able to, like, escape from the campus and having somewhere to go to that just felt like family, so close, and so that was my favorite moment.
yeah. Yeah. That's so sweet.
Yeah. Okay, so what about you?
Mine mine is, even though I hated the open gyms in the moment because I was so scared and
Oh,
so
yeah.
nervous,
Yeah.
I look back and think like, "Wait, that was really cool." Like, the girls that we were playing against and that would come,
Other
I
teams
had
would come.
no yeah, I
Yeah.
literally felt like I had no business being there. And then, like, I remember, like, the NBA players would be there
Yeah.
sometimes at night, and that was so cool. Just, like, that in general was really fun when it was, like it was just basketball at that point. It wasn't
Yeah, yeah. Felt
conditioning.
like high school again.
Yeah, yeah. And again, if my freshman self would've, like, known that I'd be saying this today, she'd be like, "Absolutely not. Open gym was the worst, like, blah, blah," but that's just 'cause I was so scared and
Yeah.
not confident in myself, but now being able to look back and be like, "Okay, those were actually really cool times and really, really cool experiences." Even when I asked Lonzo Ball for a picture and he said no. But it's still a great memory. Oh my god. Exactly, exactly. Well, these are just little bits of our experience, and things that we have taken with us from what we went through in college. And again, there is no roadmap and there's no right answer, but we feel like just being able to talk about it and share personal experiences and just normalizing the conversation of this shit is hard and you're not alone. So hopefully everything that we talked about today can help some athletes or parents or coaches create that empathy around these first year student athletes.
And that's a wrap for today's session in the mental training room. If you found value in this episode, make sure to subscribe to our show, share it with a teammate, friend, parent, or anyone you think would benefit from listening, and follow us on the Instagram at mtr.pod.
We'll catch you next time inside the mental training room. If you are currently experiencing a mental health crisis, please dial 988 for emergency support.